The talk within college football over the past, we'll call it a week. It seems like it's been a week. Maybe it's been a little bit less than that. Is Nico Iamaleava transferring out of Tennessee, the same Tennessee team that he led to a college football playoff appearance last season. Folks, let's break it down. You might not like it, okay? And I know that there are some people out there that don't like it. But Nico Iamaleava has every right within the current lack of structure within college football to do what he did. I think he was making somewhere around the mid $2 million range, and there are reports coming out that are saying he was even negotiating and looking for that raise leading up to that playoff game. Some people are saying maybe there was a situation where maybe he even could have held out of that playoff game to get that pay bump from the mid $2 million range, and he's looking to get up certainly to that $4 million range. But please do not blame the kid, okay? This is a prime opportunity to make this kind of money, certainly right now, and we're going to go into maybe the market value and all of those things here in just a moment. But he has every single right to be able to do this right now. And that really leads into maybe my next point. Just because you have the right doesn't mean that maybe that right is the greatest decision in the world. One of my favorite movies of all time is, of course, the 1993 classic Jurassic Park. Here is a quote from Jeff Goldblum playing Dr. Ian Malcolm that I think really summarizes maybe what's going on right now. Quote, yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not that they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Just because you can do something, just because you have the ability to do something, doesn't mean that you should do something. Do you believe out there that Nico is a $4 million quarterback? Do you believe that based on what we've seen from Iamaleava on the field, that he deserves to be maybe one of the highest paid quarterbacks in all of college football? My answer is no. I led off with this. He has every right in the current structure to be able to do what he wants to do, to be able to negotiate this. Okay? But when I look at this and what's maybe going to happen on the back end of this, I'm not sure if there's going to be a school out there that's going to pay him $4 million. You look at Nico. Nico lit it up against a lot of not good teams last year. You match him up against the better teams on the schedule. Here's what happened against Georgia, against Alabama, and against that playoff game against Ohio State. He averaged 155 yards passing, a grand total of 0.33 touchdowns on average during those games, and completed just over 50% of his passes. The fact of the matter is that Nico was not a good quarterback against really good competition. Okay? So I think when teams are evaluating whether they want to go in and get a guy like Nico, do they want to pay that high-end dollar? They need to figure out and really evaluate this film and really see if they, within their offense, can get the most out of his skill sets so he can play better in big-time games. Now, I am at the figure $4 million, okay? That is what he's certainly looking to go for. People kind of understand that certainly right now. But here's the thing about value, okay? People like I'm sitting here and saying, hey, if it were me, I don't think Nico is a $4 million quarterback. If I'm a general manager, if I'm a head coach, if I'm leading an NIL collective, yeah, I'm not shelling out $4 million for Nico. But here's the thing about value. And we see this all the time in professional sports with like a Shohei Ohtani contract, for example. Okay? The value, the worth, a player is worth what somebody else is willing to pay him. Economics 101, supply and demand. If a school has enough money within their bankroll right now, and there is enough demand from their fan base to get a good quarterback, from their coaching staff to their collective saying, hey, we need to spend money to get a good quarterback. If there's enough demand there for him, then by the laws of supply and demand, Mr. Iamaleava is worth $4 million. Let's circle this back to the Big Ten Conference right now. Let's talk about two schools that have been rumored out there to possibly be in the chase. Now, originally USC was thrown out there. It does not appear that USC is really in this thing right now. And here's what I'll say about the Trojans. And why I think this is probably a good decision for them to get out of the Nico Iamaleava sweepstakes right now. You look at their quarterback situation. You have Jade Maiava. Now, I have said publicly that, hey, I do not believe Jade Maiava is the guy right now. I'm not super confident in him, but here's the thing about Jaden. You saw glimpses of it last year. You saw glimpses of, oh, that's a good throw. Oh, that's, they're really pushing the ball down the field. They're creating some plays down the field. But then you saw kind of the ugly part of this thing. You saw interceptions, back-to-back pick sixes, in the Notre Dame game. You saw misreading the defense, right? You saw all of these other things with Jade Maiava last season. And I've talked about this in a previous show. Maybe with a full spring, summer, fall of seasoning, maybe, or maybe not, but maybe some of those things are going to get better with him as QB1 going forward. He was a little bit young transferring from UNLV to USC last year. Maybe another year of seasoning is going to make him better over there at USC. Here's one thing I think that is really glaring to me. Okay, you've got Lincoln Riley as his head coach, okay? And you can say whatever you want about Lincoln Riley, but Lincoln Riley does a great job with quarterbacks, okay? And you've got $4 million, for example, sitting in the bank. If I'm USC, if I'm Lincoln Riley, I would rather spend that $4 million on offensive line. If I'm USC and I'm Lincoln Riley, I would rather spend $4 million maybe on another wide receiver weapon to go with Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon. I would spend that $4 million with some things on the defensive side of the football to really shore up that unit as well. Like, it's sexy, it's pretty when there's a big-time name and a big-time quarterback out there, but I think that money at USC would be better suited to go into other parts of their team, and I think that would be something to be able to make their team better and get more victories next season. With a whole offseason and with a whole year of seasoning, maybe Jade Maiava can make that jump up. And of course, we got to talk about Husan Longstreet, who is the true freshman coming in, who also appears to be the future of the program for the USC Trojans. Okay, let's go to Westwood. Let's go to UCLA, because this, according to On3's Pete Nakos, this was one of the three teams that it looks like is in the race right now. I think the first thing that you need to talk about when you talk about UCLA and Nico right now is what UCLA did in the winter transfer portal period, because they already got a transfer quarterback. Joey Aguilar from Appalachian State transferred in. Like, he was a really productive quarterback in the Sun Belt Conference the last two seasons. Back-to-back seasons where he threw for over 3,000 yards, in each year, a combined 56 touchdowns. You combine him with Tino Sinceri at Indiana, right? That's a kind of a familiar. We know Tino was at Indiana last season, and now, of course, he's the offensive coordinator at UCLA. But you had a guy like Curtis Rourke in the G5 last year, and you put him on Indiana, and you saw the fruits of that labor that really came about. And maybe UCLA is trying to replicate that with Joey in there right now. Now, I think it's hard to compare Nico playing in the SEC. You watch him on tape, you watch Joey in the G5. I mean, it's two levels of competition. It's kind of hard to really break that down a little bit. But I think this is a little bit of a tougher decision right now for UCLA. Okay, because from what I understand, maybe the money isn't as fruitful at a place like UCLA as it is like USC. So if you throw in a lot of that money over to Nico, there's a lot of other parts to this UCLA roster that needs some help in the spring transfer portal period. You throw all your money at a quarterback, you better hope he's the guy. You better hope that that's going to go well. Another thing to keep in mind, okay, with the whole Iamaleava family and UCLA. Remember, they had a 4-star quarterback commitment, Madden Iamaleava. And then this last signing day, flipped over to Arkansas. So maybe the vibes between those two parties aren't the greatest right now. But hey, maybe we can put that all aside and say, hey, wait, we lost one of them, lost one Iamaleava. Maybe we can kind of slide in another guy in there right now. So I kind of look at this the same way for UCLA that I do for USC. I think there's other places to the team where you can spend that money. I think you've got a good to really good quarterback option at UCLA, and I think you could have that over at USC as well. Like if you were just, did not have any option whatsoever at quarterback, okay, maybe I could understand that, and maybe this, like I said, supply and demand, if the demand is there a little bit more. But I think both of these teams could be solid to good to maybe even really good or great at the quarterback position and in the passing game this upcoming season. I got to imagine that the price is maybe going to be driven down a little bit as this negotiation maybe goes along a little bit more. I'd be very curious. What if this, because he was living in the mid 2s? What if this gets up to like the high 2s or the low 3s? Does USC get back into it at that price? Boy, it's going to be very interesting to certainly follow this Nico Iamaleava transfer saga.